All right, today we're going to show you how to do a clutch kit, install a Dalton Clutch kit in a 2020 and newer HD10. Before we get started, make sure you check out Hunterworks belt, best on the planet. Check them out. Also, make sure you subscribe, like, ring that bell so you're notified of anything new coming down the line. There's always something new and happening around here, so check that out. Okay, so to get to this point, we have clutches on the table here today, so we're not starting with cover. We have a video how to get the cover off, primary off, secondary off. We also have the same videos on when they're taking them off, putting them back on, torquing properly, hopefully with a Hunterworks clutch holding tool. So that's how you're getting them off and that's how you're putting them on. This video is strictly covering the kit part with them on the bench, okay? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the primary clutch. Now, your puller that you use to get it off with, you're going to take it and screw it back in approximately half the distance if you got a puller from us, from where it's neck down, about halfway. Get it in there good. Now, next thing is you're going to want to get at least a 2-pound hammer. Okay, that's about in there good enough. All right, you want to get at least a 2-pound hammer. Do not use some kind of little 16-ounce framing hammer, because when you're pecking on this, you'll end up damaging the threads inside the primary and maybe the puller too. It's best to give a swift, hard one. If you got even a 4-pound, even better. And you go, whoa, wait a minute now. What do you mean hit it? Well, on this particular style of Can Am clutch, if you had a service manual, this is exactly what it tells you to do. The method I'm telling you, screw it in, hit it with a hammer. So see this clutch on the governor cup, I believe that's what they call this. But anyway, this piece here, I call it Spider, does not have threaded holes like Maverick, like 1000R, and several other vehicles, but they use a governor cup tool. You don't use it on this. All right, so you hold it, and then you simply hit this swift action. Yep, pop loose. Now, the first time I did mine, it didn't come off so easy. All right, that was to speed things up, okay? Now then, other thing is on these halves, when I take this off and then you turn this, front and back half do not have to be lined up. That's kind of a myth. These things are balanced each, not together. Because if they were, and it had to be marked, when you couldn't buy the back half, you see. So you can set that aside. What you do need to pay attention to, though, is this half, and you need to mark it. I've got some marks already on mine. I'm gonna put my old glasses on. I've already got marks on mine from previous videos and working on it. But nonetheless, this is where we're at. And so you're gonna slide. I'm going to keep calling this a Spider. I've been calling this that forever with the Polaris. Also, there are 3 of the Spider pucks. Once again, probably not correct terminology. That's what I've been calling them from years. And be careful, there's 3 of these that are going to fall out. So make sure you see where they go. There went the second one. First one I jumped out, and I cut the camera off or edited it out. There's some O-rings in there too. Oop, there went the third one. Now there's some little O-rings. I would recommend replacing them with more Can Am. There are some aftermarket ones that maybe we'll carry in the future. Depending on when this video is made, we may have them. So if we don't have them, get more Can Am or check those aftermarkets out. All right. Set your Spider to the side. All right, with this particular kit, it's going to come with 3 flyweights. Yes, there's 6, but you're only using 3, and it's going to come with a different spring in it. Hopefully, you have a Hunterworks spring compressor that you're using, or you can purchase at the same time of your kit, and we'll do the spring first, okay? So it's a good idea just pull your flyweights back out of the way, because sometimes they can get in the way of the spring cup when you're fooling with it. Our compressor comes with a bale or washer. You can actually use either. We'll either have whole Polaris roller or square puck or flat washer with these. Depends on what we have at the time, and purpose is just to keep metal on metal, okay? Get your handle started. Give it a good spin. All right, you do not have to compress anything. You see me handling just as long as it's holding it in place. Take a T30 Torx bit, and you're going to take all these screws out of here. All right. Now is when you're going to notice that it's got spring pressure on it. Set your screws to the side. Sometimes you have to heat those. We get have a little hand torch. Got it off Amazon somewhere. Sometimes the screws need a little heat. So anyway, take your handle loose. All right, take this back off, spring cup off. Might want to give it a good cleaning. Take your spring out. This is actually the one for the Dalton kit that I already did. You want to replace it, put your Dalton kit in, put your spring cup back in. Probably wouldn't be the worst idea to mark the spring cup, but I can't imagine it would affect the balance very much. Put your compressor back on. All right, here's where the compressing part goes. So you're going to turn this down. It would be a good idea to get it pretty close, not touching and pressed, because you're going to have to line your screws back up. You're going to want to use a blue Loctite 243. I would, in fact, Loctite mine, but mine comes apart all the time for videos. And when I finally get done with this vehicle, I will in fact be putting some blue Loctite on mine. You don't want to use red or green because you may never get them out if you do. So get this started by hand. Now hang on, while I'm tightening this, I'll tell you my little quick story on impacts. I am an impact fanatic. I love the Milwaukee brand. I use them. 19 years of doing this, not one single time I've ever broke a screw, and I do not plan on changing things. So many people break small screws, torque wrenches. I just don't use them. Let your conscience be your guide, get your service manual, find a torque spec. Okay, so once we get them started, I'm gonna go down a little bit in each one. And then we're gonna go down with a handle again. All right, now we know for a fact it's good. Do a cross pattern. Start on one side and then go the other. All right, that's it on the spring. All right, now you can leave this on your compressor. You can take it off. I like to take it off the compressor because it's spinning. Now you can see mine already has a Dalton Clutch kit in it. So you can only get 3 weights. So we're gonna go every other one. And so you can just pick one, okay? So there's no need me taking out a factory weight and then putting it back in and putting a Dalton, etc. So we're gonna take out a Dalton. This is a I think T25 Torx bit. I believe that's what that is. Don't get me to line. I believe it is. And an 8mm wrench. Okay. I'm going to turn this around. We can see a little bit better. And even though this is the Dalton, what is in there is going to be 2 black washers. Now, I ain't gonna lie, this is a good time to do a little maintenance on this thing. We're gonna have a maintenance video at a later date. Same reason I didn't do these screws, all right? So, now you're gonna follow your nice instructions that Dalton has provided, the setup sheets. My particular vehicle is in fact a limited, 21 limited. There's not a limited setup in here. I worked with Dalton on it because we got this heavier cab, air conditioned, etc. And we were very surprised at how much RPM it dropped down. And then when we got this thing dialed in, it was a remarkable difference in performance. And didn't hurt anything anywhere else. We just tickled to death. So for me, I have stock tires, but I ended up with the 30-inch tire setup, which it calls for a 3/8 long silver button head screw and a 3/8 long black head set screw. That's what it, and the mint green primary spring, okay, which we already did the spring. So here, and we'll go to this camera, here's a silver button head 3/8 and there's the 3/8 set screw, okay? So all you do is set your weight up. I would suggest blue Loctite on both threads of these, and put your pivot pin, bolt, whatever you'd like to call it, back in. I put it in and hang the washer on it. FYI, I'm doing this backwards for your sake. And push in one side. Now pull this back out and wait for it to clear and push. There we go, just like that. Put her nut back on her pin. Once again, I'm sure there's a torque spec. Somebody's gonna hammer me on it, but that's just the way we do things around here. All right, easy as pie. Okay, so just repeat that 2 more times. Got your flyweights adjusted per your kit. Got the 3 in, you know, every other one. We're ready to go back with our spider, governor cup, whatever you like to call it. So let's find our marks. Where's there's a black mark? I think I marked mine in 2 places. Nonetheless, all right, there is our marks right here. And so what I do is I don't do it that way. What I do is I start with one of the legs that needs an O-ring in it, and I get the O-ring in. And I know I'm on the other side, but come on, it's just an O-ring in a slot. Make sure you're not pinching it. And then I get that one started, okay? Turn around, get that one started, and you can get these others started, just a teeny amount. So then go find your next one. Here's this one. So you're gonna wanna pull up just a shade. Sometime you have to pull up on the next one. We'll grab an O-ring, get it in there. Grab a puck. There are sides to this, it should be obvious. All right, now we get slide it down, go to the next. Same thing, pull up a little bit. These O-rings, I know there's a purpose behind it, and it's to keep this thing quiet and tight, but it's not a great idea, in my opinion. Put our puck in. And make sure it don't pinch the O-ring. Go in there. Now you're gonna go, well, it's kind of stiff, it's kind of stiff. Well, the problem is, the reason it's stiff is because you can't push straight. All right, so in just a minute, I'm gonna show you. So once we get it even, all right, yeah, now once we get it even, well, like I said, I'm not, there we go. See, now it moves once we're even. And FYI, you can't do it with your hands that good. So as long as it ain't totally binding and you screwed up one of your pucks, you're good to go. Now, like I said, once again, this is why you got it apart. Good time to do maintenance. Hopefully you're using some of Hunterworks secret grease that we got, or grease in your bearing, but nonetheless, we'll do a maintenance video. So, say you did all that, and ready to put it back. All you gotta do, put it back, hold it together, because it's not locked. It'll turn, go put it back on the vehicle, torque it back using our video. Now we come to the secondary side of this. This particular model, 20 and newer, has a helix in it, and the spring in it has a tang, so it has to be turned. It's a little fun. compared to 16 through 19 Defender. That's really the only difference between these two vehicles is secondary clutch. This is what we'll call a 3-roller X3 style clutch. 16 through 19 has a 2-roller style, a little bit different clutch. Mine already has a Dalton Clutch kit in it, so we're just pulling out, putting it back, okay? So we're gonna put this on our spring compressor and you're gonna mark it. Mine is already marked, but you can't mark your helix, but your factory helix has an X, not an X, but a arrow on it. You're gonna wanna mark it, mark each side. I marked mine on this side here, but now your clutches have arrows on them. They're over here. Actually, I got so many marks on this from taking it apart and putting it back together. We got an arrow here and one on this side, okay? And here's my helix mark, but of course you don't have that helix, and I won't confuse you. But nonetheless, you do not have to mark your helix taking it apart, and we'll worry about putting it back together. So just mark these two halves. God, I hope that's clear as mud. Now you can either use a washer or the bale. I still like to use the washer. Bales used a lot on Polaris's or Yamahas. All right, if I ain't mistaken, that's going to be a T50. It is. Okay. All right, set your screws off to the side. FYI, Dalton's got torque specs in there too. Now, take this handle off and expect a little extra racket, because as this thing comes, this piece is going to spring around. So it's not no good way to hold it to keep it from happening. But we'll keep going here. There it went. Okay, so then you just take your handle on off. Set your secondary over here to the side. Good time to inspect it, do any maintenance. Take your spring out of your factory helix, set your helix to the side. Now this particular kit does not have a secondary spring, doesn't need it. Just needs the different helix and the weights. So you're going to take your stock spring. We can do it several ways, but you're going to find the number 4 hole, and they're engraved right around this edge. We're going to find this number 4 hole, which is right here, and we're going to put our tang in the hole. Tang in the hole, not to be confused with the drinking tang. Got to be old to know what that is. Take your spring cup of the hole, put it down. And there's several ways you can do this. This is the way I like to do this. I take the back half, because we got a hole in it. When I go this camera, we got a hole for the tang. Go down and line our tang back up. Okay, good deal. Now we're going to put the other half of the secondary on. Get over the shaft. Now let's line up our marks. If you want to verify it, make sure you got your little arrows. They do not perfectly line up because there's a rib in the way. One arrow is straight out and the other side points like this. Kind of an odd thing, okay? Now, put your washer back on and your handle. We're going to put just a tiny bit of pressure on it, not much. And so at this point, you want to get you a strap wrench put on there. Go around your helix, makes it much easier. Also make sure that if you've marked your clutch up before, like I did, you don't have too many marks on it. So certainly go by your arrows on the back of the secondary. And if you want to double check yourself, there's going to be one on the other side. All right, so get your strap wrench on and barely get this going. And there's not a good way. We got to go one over. Whew, I know this don't look pretty. I have not found a good way to do this one yet. All right, so you had to turn it a turn to get the roller into the next helic deal where the spring has got that tension, and you start coming down with it. Take your strap wrench off and come on down with it. Once again, making sure that you got your markings right. Come down, get it close enough for those bolts, blue Loctite. Not putting it on mine because it's coming back apart for another video. Put blue Loctite on it and torquing to 45 pounds, or use this. But we're not ready for that yet. We're just getting them started good. Always best to start with your fingers. Now, take it down. You're going to be compressing the spring. You'll come to a positive stop, okay? And you're going to feel it spreading, moving, carrying on, but that's all good. Now, 45. I think that's 44. All right, take your handle off. Should be good to go. I'm back where I started before we did this video. My arrow, and my black mark, and I'm in number 4. We're torqued down, ready to go back on the vehicle. Like I said, you can use our videos, how to remove primary, secondary on a Defender, to show you what to torque to, hopefully using our holding tool. And make sure you don't forget about our belts, best on the planet. Works really good on this vehicle. Also, FYI, anytime you're doing clutch kits, if you have a good used belt, it's best to use that belt for checking RPM. And then when you're done, whether it's a Hunterworks belt or whatever brand, wait a couple of 100 miles till you get it fully broke in, wore in, etc. Because RPM is probably going to be lower on a brand new belt. So you don't be chasing your tail on shift phase RPM with a new belt. And that RPM be low. So if you got a good used belt, set your clutch up, check it with that, then put your new belt on before you put your cover on. Wait a couple of 100 miles, RPM's gonna come back up. All right, if you got any questions, Todd at Hunterworks.com. Don't bother calling, it's too hard to get through. Appreciate you. If you need me, let me know.